Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to explore the life of Father William Judge, a Jesuit missionary. He served in the Canadian North during the Klondike Gold Rush.
Wow.
You, our listener, requested this deep dive because of your interest in the Catholic faith. And Father Judge's story, I think you're going to find, is really inspiring, a real testament to faith in action.
Yeah. I think what's so interesting about Father Judge's story is how it really connects to like the broader themes of missionary work back in the 19th century.
Yeah.
So we'll be exploring kind of the challenges and also the triumphs of what it meant to spread the gospel in like a frontier setting.
Right.
And how Father Judge's work in Dawson City really went beyond just the religious services.
Yeah, absolutely. And to help us unpack all this, we have some really incredible primary and secondary source material.
Okay.
We'll be looking at excerpts from historical accounts of his life, biographical essays, and even glimpses into the Tsimshian culture that he worked with earlier in his mission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get started.
Let's get started. I'm really curious about that moment, that kind of pivotal moment where Father Judge really felt that call to missionary work.
Yeah, so his calling to missionary work was quite dramatic, actually. You know, he was a successful businessman, actually, and had a promising career ahead of him.
Right.
But there was this one profound encounter that he had with a man who was struggling with his faith, and that really affected him deeply.
Okay, so he didn't just have like an overnight change of heart.
No, not at all. He really grappled with a lot of like fundamental questions. You know, what's the meaning of life?
Right.
And actually even challenged a well-known agnostic, questioning, does a life without faith actually really offer more?
Interesting.
And this kind of internal struggle is ultimately what led him to choose this life of faith and service. So he joined the Church Missionary Society.
Okay.
And embarked on this journey that would take him so far away from like the comforts of home.
Yeah. And that journey led him to Alaska, right?
It did, yes.
To work with the Tsimshian people.
Exactly.
So, I mean, can you imagine arriving in a place where the spoken language has no written form?
Oh, wow.
Like, that's what Father Judge faced with the Tsimshian language.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading, they had like 5 different words for each numeral, depending on what you were counting.
Wow.
So complex. He had to be incredibly resourceful to just even like decipher it, let alone learn it.
It's amazing how he had those creative methods to learn such a complex language.
Right. So he was dealing with language barriers, obviously cultural differences, deeply ingrained spiritual beliefs that were, different from his own.
Yeah.
Did these obstacles ever make him question his path at all?
It's interesting because rather than kind of, deterring him, it seemed like these challenges actually strengthened his resolve.
Wow.
For instance, like there was that time when he went head to head with the Fort Simpson captain about Sunday labor.
Wow.
And he really, stood up for his beliefs, even though, he was facing this authority figure.
Yeah.
And it really showed his commitment to his faith and the well-being of those he served.
Yeah. It sounds like he was already living that idea of practical piety that we're going to be exploring a little bit later.
Yeah.
Is there a particular story from his time with the Tsimshian people that stands out to you?
Well, the story of Legaic, the head chief, and his eventual conversion to Christianity.
Okay.
It really kind of offers a glimpse into Father Judge's approach. He really immersed himself in their culture. He learned about their traditions, their beliefs, and he really earned their respect through his actions.
Yeah.
And it was this genuine care that I think really paved the way for Legaic's eventual acceptance of Christianity.
Yeah. It seems like he understood that, true conversion doesn't just come from, dogma and doctrine. It comes from building relationships, from addressing the needs of the whole person.
Exactly.
So it wasn't just about preaching. It was about living his faith in a tangible way. And then we have this really dramatic shift. He moves to Dawson City during the Klondike Gold Rush.
Right.
So can you paint us a picture of what was Dawson City like during that time?
Oh man, Dawson City was just chaos.
Yeah.
It was this mix of hope and desperation.
Wow.
Imagine just this flood of prospectors.
Right.
All walks of life, all driven by this dream of striking gold, and fortunes were being made and lost like overnight, and lawlessness was just rampant.
It sounds like a very challenging environment, not just physically, but spiritually as well.
Yeah, it was.
How did Father Judge approach his ministry in such a chaotic setting?
Well, right in the middle of that chaos, Father Judge brought this sense of order and compassion.
Okay.
He established St. Mary's Church and hospital, and that quickly became this haven
Oh, wow.
for miners who were seeking, solace, healing, and a spiritual connection.
I bet for our listener, a devout Catholic, that's a particularly powerful image.
Absolutely.
This sanctuary of faith in the middle of all that frenzy of the gold rush.
Yeah, and it really speaks to, Father Judge's ability to connect with people
Yeah.
on a deep level, regardless of where they came from, their background, their circumstances.
From what I've read, his approach to missionary work in Dawson City was very different from like the typical 19th century model.
It was.
How so?
Well, a lot of missionaries at that time really focused on conversion and dogma.
Right.
But Father Judge prioritized meeting people's immediate needs. He recognized that, basic needs, food, shelter, medical care, those things needed to be addressed before any, meaningful spiritual dialogue could even take place.
So it's less about, preaching and more about providing tangible support.
Exactly.
Do we have any like specific examples of this practical piety in action?
One that really stands out is his response to the devastating fire that swept through Dawson City back in 1899.
Oh, wow.
So he immediately opened the doors of St. Mary's,
Okay.
offering shelter, food, comfort to anyone who'd lost everything.
He really embodied that, gospel message of love and mercy.
He did.
It wasn't just, theoretical. It was lived out.
Yeah, and I think that active expression of faith is the key takeaway for our listener.
Yeah.
His response to that fire it's a powerful model.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds us that, compassion and service are really cornerstones of a life lived according to, Christian values.
Yeah. And it was that commitment to action that really earned him that nickname, the Saint of Dawson. Right.
It did, yeah.
Which, that's a title that I think holds special significance for people who are, seeking models of faith and service within the church.
Absolutely, yeah. It speaks volumes about the impact he had on the community.
Yeah.
He was seen as really like a living embodiment of Christian ideals.
Right.
Putting others before himself, working tirelessly to alleviate suffering, and bringing hope to those who needed it most.
And his reach extended beyond just the Catholic community as well, right?
Yes, it did.
You're referring to his ecumenical approach.
Exactly. Yeah. He actively collaborated with other religious leaders.
Okay.
Recognizing that shared humanity in everyone, regardless of their faith.
Right.
He understood that, to effectively serve that diverse community of Dawson City, they needed to work together.
That's remarkable, especially considering, the often rigid sectarianism of the time.
It is.
That's a really powerful message for us today as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. In a world where it feels like religious divisions are more pronounced than ever,
Yeah.
Father Judge's example really challenges us to look past those differences,
Yeah.
to see the shared values that unite us.
Right.
He really demonstrated that compassion and service are universal languages that can bridge divides and foster unity.
That's a beautiful thought. So we're seeing this theme of practical piety really emerge in Father Judge's ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate a bit more on what that term means, how it really manifested in his work?
Yeah, so practical piety, at its core, it's about putting faith into action.
Oh, yeah.
It's about going beyond just the rituals and the doctrines,
Right.
and translating your belief into tangible acts of service and love.
Right.
So for Father Judge, this meant really prioritizing those immediate needs of the people that he served,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was providing, food and shelter, offering medical care, or even just being a compassionate presence in their lives.
So it's about meeting people where they are, both physically and spiritually.
Exactly.
And in doing so, you're creating that environment where genuine spiritual growth can occur.
Yeah. And for him, this approach wasn't just about practicality, it really reflected his deep understanding of the gospel message.
Okay.
He saw Christ's ministry as one of both preaching and healing, proclaiming the truth and addressing the needs of the suffering.
It's a really powerful model for how we can live out our own faith today.
Yeah.
Instead of just talking about our beliefs, we can find those tangible ways to put them into action,
Right.
to really make a difference in the lives of those around us.
Exactly. And that's really what made Father Judge such an effective missionary. He didn't just preach the gospel, he lived it.
His life seems like a perfect example of the Jesuit motto,
Yeah.
ad majorem Dei gloriam,
Yeah.
for the greater glory of God.
Absolutely.
He sought to glorify God not just through words, but through actions, through serving others, through making the world a better place.
It's a powerful testament to, the impact that one person can have when they dedicate their life to something bigger than themselves.
Absolutely.
And it's a legacy that continues to inspire us today.
Speaking of inspiration, I'm curious to hear more about the specific challenges that Father Judge faced in Dawson City. It couldn't have been easy, to establish a mission in such a chaotic and unpredictable environment.
Oh, the challenges were immense for sure.
Yeah.
He faced opposition from people who saw his work as a threat to their own interests. He dealt with constant shortages of resources. And he had to navigate, the complexities of a constantly changing social and political landscape.
Yeah.
But perhaps one of the most difficult challenges he faced was the prevalence of vice and immorality in Dawson City.
It was Gold Rush Town, after all. A place where people went seeking fortune.
Yeah.
And often indulged in excesses.
Exactly. Yeah. Gambling, prostitution, alcohol abuse, these were rampant. And it really created an environment that was often hostile to the values that Father Judge was trying to promote.
So how did he respond to these challenges?
He responded with, unwavering determination.
Wow.
And a deep commitment to his mission.
Okay.
He didn't shy away from confrontation when it was necessary. He challenged those in power to address the social ills that were plaguing the community.
Right.
And he worked tirelessly to provide alternative forms of entertainment and recreation.
Okay.
So establishing reading rooms, organizing social gatherings, offering spiritual guidance and support to those who were, struggling.
So he wasn't just, preaching against vice. He was actively working to create a more wholesome and supportive environment.
Exactly. He understood that, to really change people's lives, it wasn't enough to just condemn, that you have to create positive alternatives.
It sounds like he was a man of both words and actions.
Yeah.
He didn't just talk about making a difference. He rolled up his sleeves and got involved in the messy realities of people's lives.
Absolutely. And that's what made him such an effective leader.
Yep.
He inspired people not just through what he said, but through what he did.
Right.
Through his willingness to, get his hands dirty and to work alongside those that he served.
And that really brings us back to this theme of practical piety. It wasn't just a concept for Father Judge. It was a way of life.
It really was. And it's a reminder for all of us that, faith is not just about believing.
Right.
It's about doing. It's about translating those beliefs into actions and about making a tangible difference in the world around us.
That's a powerful message for a listener to consider.
Yeah.
So as we move forward in our deep dive, I'm curious to explore how this theme of practical piety continued to manifest in Father Judge's ministry.
Yeah.
What other stories or examples can we uncover that really illustrate this unique approach to serving others and spreading the gospel message?
Oh, there are so many. And each one offers, valuable insights into the life and the legacy of this really extraordinary man. Let's delve into those next.
I'm eager to hear more. This is turning out to be a truly inspiring deep dive, and I'm sure our listeners feeling the same way.
I have no doubt. Father Judge's story is one that really speaks to the heart of what it means to live a life of faith, service, and compassion.
And those are values that resonate deeply no matter what one's background or beliefs may be.
Absolutely. His life offers us a timeless example of how of how one person can make such a profound difference in the world. And that's a message that continues to inspire us today.
On that note, let's continue our exploration of Father Judge's remarkable journey. There's so much more to discover, and I'm eager to hear what other insights we can glean from his life and legacy.
I'm happy to share what I've learned, and
Sure.
I'm sure we'll both learn even more along the way.
I have no doubt about that. Let's dive back in.
Picking up where we left off, Father Judge's move to Dawson City during the Klondike Gold Rush. This wasn't just like a change of scenery, it was a whole new level of challenge for him.
Right, we talked about Dawson City being this really chaotic
Mhm.
boomtown. What were some of the specific hurdles that Father Judge had to face in establishing his mission there? It couldn't have been easy.
It really wasn't. I mean, beyond just the lawlessness and the constant resource shortages, he faced opposition from those who saw him as a threat to their interests.
Yeah, that makes sense. He was really promoting a very different way of life.
He was, and that created a lot of tension. Imagine he even had to deal with a group of saloon owners who actually threatened to burn down St. Mary's Church.
That's incredible. How did he handle that? Like such a direct threat.
He didn't back down. He actually confronted them directly,
Wow.
appealing to their sense of decency and reminding them that his mission was there to help, not to harm.
That took a lot of courage.
He did.
It sounds like his commitment to his mission went beyond just preaching. It was about protecting the very foundation of his work.
Exactly. And the unwavering determination, it's a theme that we see throughout his entire life. But it wasn't just about confrontation.
Right.
He also very strategically addressed the needs of the miners.
Okay.
Offering them alternatives to the saloons and the brothels that were just so prevalent in Dawson City at the time.
So he was providing not just spiritual guidance, but also like social and recreational outlets.
Precisely. He established reading rooms. He organized social gatherings. He even brought in a gramophone
Wow.
to provide, entertainment.
Okay.
He understood that to really truly change people's lives, he needed to offer them more than just, sermons. He had to create this sense of community, this sense of belonging.
It sounds like he was building a haven.
Yeah.
A place where people could find solace and support amidst all those harsh realities of the gold rush.
Mm.
I mean, for our listener who's interested in Catholic social teaching, this must be a particularly resonant aspect of Father Judge's ministry.
Absolutely. He was living out those principles of Catholic social teaching.
Yeah.
Long before those principles were even formally articulated.
Right.
He believed in the dignity of every human being,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of their circumstances, and he worked tirelessly to create a more just and compassionate society.
And this commitment to social justice, it wasn't limited to his work in Dawson City, was it?
No, not at all. It was a defining characteristic of his entire ministry,
Okay.
from his early days in Alaska to his later years in New Malakala.
Can you give us like some specific examples of how this commitment manifested in his actions?
Yeah. One striking example is his unwavering stance against the sale of alcohol to the indigenous people that he served.
Okay.
He saw firsthand the devastating impact that alcohol had on their communities.
Right.
And he fought tirelessly to protect them from its harms.
So it wasn't just a matter of like personal morality for him. It was about advocating for the well-being of those who are most vulnerable.
Exactly. He understood that true justice, it requires protecting the weak and fighting for the rights of those who are often marginalized and exploited.
And this wasn't just a passive stance, was it? Like he actively challenged those in power who were profiting from the liquor trade.
Oh, he absolutely did.
Oh,
He took on powerful entities like the Hudson's Bay Company.
okay.
He used his legal knowledge and his influence to expose their practices and to advocate for stricter regulations.
Mhm. It sounds like he wasn't afraid to ruffle some feathers when it came to standing up for what he believed in.
He wasn't. And that's, I think, a valuable lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that faith isn't just about, private beliefs.
Right.
It's about living out those beliefs in the world. It's
Mm.
about speaking truth to power. It's
Right.
about about fighting for justice, even when it's difficult or unpopular.
That's a powerful message for our listener, a devout Catholic who's likely, very inspired by Father Judge's dedication to living his faith so actively.
His life really exemplifies how faith can be a driving force for social change.
Mm.
But it wasn't, just about these grand gestures or confrontations.
Right.
His commitment to social justice, it was also evident in countless, small acts of kindness and service that just defined his daily life.
But so it's about meeting people's needs on a practical level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Day in and day out.
Exactly. He was known for his generosity,
Mm-hmm.
his willingness to help anyone in need, whether it was, providing food and shelter,
Yeah.
offering medical care, or just listening, with compassion and offering words of encouragement.
It sounds like he truly embodied that gospel message of loving our neighbor as ourselves.
He did, and that's a powerful message for all of us. It's a reminder that true holiness, it's not about grand displays or impressive achievements.
Yeah.
It's about consistently choosing love.
Yeah.
Choosing compassion and choosing service in our daily interactions with others.
That's a beautiful sentiment, and one that seems particularly relevant for Catholics who are striving to live their faith authentically.
It really is. It's a reminder that our faith should be reflected not just in our words, but in our actions, in the way we treat others, and in the choices that we make every day.
It's really inspiring to hear about Father Judge's tireless dedication to serving others. But I'm curious about the personal cost of such a demanding life.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever experience like burnout or discouragement?
Well, he was human,
Right.
of course, and there were undoubtedly times when he felt overwhelmed or weary.
Yeah.
But what's remarkable is how he never allowed those feelings to derail his mission.
So where did he find the strength to keep going even when things got tough?
Well, his faith was his bedrock.
Okay.
It was his source of strength and resilience.
Mm.
He had this deep and abiding belief in God's presence in his life, and
Right.
and he drew solace and guidance from prayer and contemplation.
That makes sense, especially for someone who's dedicated to a religious life.
Right. But it wasn't, just about personal piety.
Okay.
He also, found strength in the community that he served,
Mm.
in the relationships that he built with the Tsimshian people, and in the joy that he found in helping others.
It sounds like his ministry was kind of a two-way street. Like he was giving, but he was also receiving.
Exactly. And that's a key insight for all of us, especially those of us who are engaged in service to others.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to remember that giving and receiving, they're not, mutually exclusive.
Right.
They're interconnected, they're interdependent.
It's about creating a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah.
A relationship where everyone benefits and everyone is lifted up.
Precisely. And that's what Father Judge was able to do in his ministry. He
Yeah.
created this community of mutual support and encouragement, a community where people felt valued, respected, and empowered.
Mm. It's a beautiful model for how we might approach our own relationships and our own efforts to serve others.
It really is. It's a reminder that the most effective and fulfilling forms of service are those that are rooted in mutual respect,
Mm-hmm.
shared purpose, and a genuine desire to see others thrive.
It's inspiring to hear how Father Judge was able to create such a positive and supportive environment, especially amidst the challenges of the gold rush.
Yeah, his story really offers a testament to the power of human connection and the importance of community in navigating life's difficulties.
And it also highlights the unique role that faith can play in building bridges,
Yeah.
fostering resilience and inspiring hope.
Absolutely. Father Judge's life reminds us that faith is not just about, personal salvation.
Yeah.
It's about making a difference in the world. It's about working for justice and compassion and about creating a more loving and equitable society.
And those are values that resonate with people of all faiths and backgrounds.
They do, and that's what makes Father Judge's story so compelling. It's a story that transcends religious boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and speaks to this universal human desire for meaning, purpose, and connection.
As we delve further into Father Judge's life, I'm eager to explore how this sense of purpose and connection manifested in his interactions with the Tsimshian people. I mean, he faced the challenge of bridging not only geographical distances but also cultural divides.
That's a great point. And his approach to those challenges was truly remarkable.
Yeah.
He didn't see his role as imposing his own culture and beliefs on the Tsimshian people.
Sure.
Instead, he sought to understand their traditions and their perspectives.
It sounds like he was committed to creating a dialogue, a space for mutual learning and respect.
He was, and that's really a key principle of effective, intercultural communication and ministry.
Right.
He recognized that true conversion, it doesn't come from coercion or forced assimilation.
Yeah.
But from genuine understanding and respect.
So he was essentially modeling the kind of open-mindedness and empathy that we need more of in our world today.
Absolutely. He understood that every culture has something valuable to offer.
Yeah.
And he saw his role as facilitating a process of exchange and integration rather than domination.
That's a powerful message, especially for our listener who's interested in how faith can be a bridge between cultures.
Yeah, his life really shows us that faith can be a force for unity and understanding, not just a source of division and conflict.
And that's a message we need to hear more of in our increasingly polarized world.
It's a message that's as relevant today as it was back in Father Judge's time.
So how did this approach to intercultural dialogue play out, like in practice?
Mm-hmm.
Did Father Judge face any resistance or pushback from either the Tsimshian people or his own superiors within the church?
He did face challenges, of
Right.
course. Some within the church questioned his methods, arguing that he was being too accommodating to indigenous traditions.
That's interesting. So he was walking this tightrope,
Yeah.
in a sense, trying to balance, respect for Tsimshian culture with his own, commitment to Catholic teachings.
Exactly. It was a delicate balancing act, and one that he didn't always, navigate perfectly.
Right.
But his heart was always in the right place.
Yeah.
And his commitment to serving the Tsimshian people never wavered.
So he was willing to take risks,
Yeah.
to push boundaries and to challenge that status quo.
Yeah.
In his pursuit of a more just and compassionate world.
He was, and that's what made him such an inspiring figure.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to stand up for what he believed in, even when it meant, facing opposition or criticism.
And that's a valuable lesson for all of us, especially those of us who are called to be agents of change in our own communities.
It reminds us that true leadership, it often requires courage, a willingness to speak truth to power, and a commitment to pursuing justice, even when it's difficult or unpopular.
It's fascinating to see how Father Judge navigated those complexities, but I'm also curious about his personal life.
Yeah.
His inner world.
Mm-hmm.
What sustained him, spiritually throughout his journey?
Well, his faith was his anchor, his source of strength and solace. He was a man of deep prayer and contemplation.
Right.
He found peace and renewal in his communion with God.
It's understandable, especially given the demanding nature of his work.
Right. But it wasn't just about retreating into solitude.
Okay.
He also found spiritual nourishment in his interactions with the Tsimshian people, in their reverence for nature and in their strong sense of community.
So he was able to find inspiration and meaning in the cultural exchange.
Yeah.
Not just in his own religious tradition.
Exactly. He had an open heart and a curious mind. And he saw the divine presence reflected in all of creation.
Wow.
Not just within the confines of his own faith.
That's a beautiful sentiment,
Yeah.
and one that's particularly resonant for our listener who's interested in how faith can intersect with other cultures and worldviews.
Yeah. It's a reminder that God's grace, it's not limited to any one religion or culture,
Hmm.
but it's freely available to all who seek it with open hearts.
And that seeking can take many forms,
Yeah.
including appreciating the beauty and the wisdom found in other traditions.
Absolutely. Father Judge's life really demonstrates that true spirituality, it's not about, rigid adherence to dogma.
Wow.
It's about cultivating a relationship with the divine
Yeah.
that is both personal and expansive,
Hmm.
both grounded in tradition, but also open to new experiences.
His life seems to offer a model for how we might approach our own faith journeys.
Yeah.
Seeking both depth and breadth,
Hmm.
both rootedness and openness.
It's a beautiful, beautiful model, and one that's as relevant today as it was back in Father Judge's time.
I'm really struck by how Father Judge was able to find spiritual nourishment in the midst of such challenging circumstances.
Yeah.
It speaks to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of faith to sustain us through adversity.
It does, and it also highlights the importance of finding sources of renewal and inspiration in our daily lives.
Yeah.
Whether it's through prayer, through contemplation, through nature, through art, or simply connecting with others.
Right.
It's essential to nurture our spirits.
Yeah.
And to find ways to recharge.
Especially when we're engaged in demanding work or facing difficult challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a valuable reminder for all of us, no matter what our vocations or life circumstances may be.
It is, and it's a reminder that's particularly relevant for our listener who's likely interested in how to live a life of faith that is both meaningful and sustainable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about pushing ourselves to the point of burnout, but it's about finding a rhythm of giving and receiving,
Mm-hmm.
of service and renewal.
Yeah.
That allows us to flourish, both spiritually and personally.
It's about finding that balance between the active and the contemplative life, the outer work and the inner work.
Yeah.
That allows us to live our faith authentically and joyfully.
I love that idea of finding joy. Finding joy in our faith it's something that's often overlooked, but it's so essential.
It really is, and it's something that Father Judge clearly embodied in his life.
Yeah.
He wasn't just a dutiful servant.
Right.
He was a man who found deep joy and fulfillment in his ministry, in his relationships, and in his connection to the divine.
And that joy was contagious, wasn't it? Like it inspired others. It drew them to him.
Absolutely. He had this charisma, this warmth, and this genuine love for people that transcended cultural and linguistic barriers.
It's amazing to think about the impact he had on the lives of so many people, not
Yeah.
just through his teachings, but through his very, very presence.
Yeah, it's a testament to the power of authenticity and the importance of living our values in a way that is both genuine and inspiring.
As we continue exploring Father Judge's life, I'm eager to learn more about the legacy that he left behind.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about his impact on individuals and communities, but what about his broader contribution to the church and to the world?
His legacy is really multifaceted and far-reaching.
Yeah.
He was a pioneer in many ways.
Right.
Pushing the boundaries of traditional missionary work, advocating for social justice.
Yeah.
And demonstrating the power of faith to transform lives and communities.
He seems to embody the spirit of Vatican II,
Yeah.
the spirit of renewal and engagement with the modern world that has been so influential in the Catholic Church in recent decades.
Absolutely. He was ahead of his time in many ways.
Yeah.
Anticipating the call for a more inclusive and socially engaged church,
Mm-hmm.
a church that's not afraid to address the challenges of the world,
Right.
and to work for the betterment of of all humanity.
That's a powerful legacy,
Yeah.
and one that continues to inspire us today.
It does, and it's a reminder that even one person can make such a profound difference in the world.
Especially when they're driven by faith, by compassion, and a deep commitment to serving others.
Precisely. Father Judge's life is a testament to the transformative power of a life lived with purpose and intention.
As we delve deeper into his legacy, I'm particularly interested in exploring the lasting impact he had on the Tsimshian people. He seems to have played a key role in helping them navigate a period of immense change and transition.
He did, and his role was complex and multifaceted.
Yeah.
He was both a spiritual guide and a cultural mediator.
Right.
Helping them to find a way to integrate their traditional beliefs
Right.
with their newfound Christian faith.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act requiring both sensitivity and strength.
It was, and he didn't always get it right.
Right.
There were times when his actions or words were perceived as insensitive or even harmful.
Yeah.
But his intentions were always good.
Okay.
And his commitment to the Tsimshian people was unwavering.
So he was a product of his time in some ways, but he was also ahead of his time in others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was grappling with complex issues of cultural identity, religious conversion, and social change. And he was doing so at a time when those issues were not well understood or easily navigated.
It's important to acknowledge that complexity.
Yeah.
Both to understand his legacy, accurately, and to learn from the mistakes of the past.
Absolutely. History is rarely simple or straightforward, and it's important to approach the past with nuance and a willingness to engage with uncomfortable truths.
It sounds like Father Judge's story really offers a rich and complex tapestry of experiences, challenges, and triumphs. A tapestry that continues to be woven today through the lives of those he touched and the legacy he left behind.
It really is, and as we continue exploring that tapestry, I think we'll uncover even more insights that are relevant to our lives today.
I'm eager to see where this deep dive takes us next. It's already been such an enlightening journey.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling there's much more to discover.
I agree. Father Judge's life is a wellspring of wisdom and inspiration, and I'm confident that we'll both emerge from this deep dive with a renewed appreciation for the power of faith, the importance of service, and the boundless potential of the human spirit.
Yeah, as we enter this final part of our deep dive into the life of Father Judge, I'm reflecting on how his story is so much more than just a historical account.
Yep.
It feels like a guide, for how to live a life of purpose, particularly for someone of faith.
I think that's a great way to put it. His life wasn't about seeking comfort or accolades.
Right.
It was about making a tangible difference in the world. And he did that by recognizing and responding to the needs around him.
That theme of practical piety just continues to resonate. It wasn't enough for him to just preach.
Right.
He had to act. He had to serve. He had to build.
And he empowered others to do the same. Think about the lasting legacy that he created in New Metlakatla.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a mission.
Right.
It was a thriving community, a testament to what can be achieved when faith is combined with hard work and a commitment to self-reliance.
For our listener, a devout Catholic, that idea of self-reliance, within the faith community must be fascinating. It challenges that notion that reliance on God means, neglecting our own responsibility to act.
It does, and it speaks to, I think, a deeper understanding of faith as something that empowers us to be active participants in shaping our world. Father Judge didn't see a contradiction between relying on God's grace and taking practical steps to improve people's lives.
He saw those things as working in tandem.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, pray as if everything depends on God, but work as if everything depends on you.
Exactly. And that's such a powerful message, I think, for us today. We often kind of compartmentalize our faith.
Right.
We separate it from our daily lives, our work, our decisions. But Father Judge's life really shows us that faith can be this driving force in every aspect of our existence.
So if we're, thinking about applying Father Judge's example to our own lives, what are some concrete takeaways that our listener could consider?
Well, one key takeaway, I think, is the importance of seeing the needs around us and responding with compassion. It's so easy to get caught up in our own lives,
Right.
our own problems, but Father Judge's life really challenges us to look outward, to see the suffering and the injustice in our world, and to ask ourselves, what can I do to make a difference?
It's about moving beyond that passive faith to an active one.
Yes.
A faith that compels us to act.
Precisely. And that action can take, many forms. It might be volunteering at a local soup kitchen. It might be donating to a worthy cause. It might be speaking out against injustice. Or it might be simply, offering a listening ear and a helping hand to someone in need.
It's about finding those small everyday opportunities to live out our faith in tangible ways.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be grandiose or dramatic.
Right.
Often the most impactful acts of service are those that are done quietly, consistently, and with a genuine heart of love.
That's a beautiful reminder that we don't need to wait for some grand opportunity to make a difference. We can start right where we are.
Right.
With the people and the resources that we have available to us.
Another key takeaway, I think, from Father Judge's life is the importance of embracing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
He didn't shy away from difficult situations. He saw them as chances to learn, to adapt, and to deepen his faith.
He seemed to have that Jesuit spirit of finding God in all things.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of adversity.
He did, and that's a powerful perspective to cultivate, I think. It's easy to become discouraged or resentful when things don't go our way, but Father Judge's life really challenges us to see setbacks as opportunities for spiritual growth,
Right.
as chances to develop resilience and deepen our trust in God's plan.
It's about reframing our challenges, seeing them not as obstacles, but as stepping stones.
Exactly. And it's about remembering that we're not meant to go through life alone. Father Judge, he drew strength from his faith, from his community, and from the people that he served.
So it's about building a support system, a network of people who can, encourage us,
Yeah.
challenge us,
Yeah.
help us stay grounded when things get tough.
Precisely. And it's also about remembering that God is always with us, even in the darkest of times.
That's a powerful source of comfort and strength.
It is.
Especially for people of faith.
It is. And it's a reminder that even when we feel lost or alone, we're
Yeah.
never truly abandoned.
So as we reflect on Father Judge's life,
Yeah.
I think we can say that his legacy is not just about what he accomplished, but it's about how he lived.
Yeah.
It's about the values that he embodied. Compassion, service, perseverance, humility.
His unwavering faith, his commitment to justice, and his profound love for humanity.
And his ability to inspire others to do the same.
Exactly. His life is both a challenge and an invitation to each of us to find our own way to make a difference in the world, to live our faith authentically, and to leave behind a legacy of love, hope, and compassion.
Well, it was a truly inspiring deep dive into the life of Father Judge. His story reminds us that faith is not just a set of beliefs, but a way of life.
Yeah.
A way of being in the world.
He showed us that true holiness is not about, titles or accolades,
Right.
but about living each day with purpose, serving others with humility, and trusting in God's grace.
For our listener whose interest in the Catholic faith brought them to this deep dive, I hope they feel a renewed sense of inspiration to live their faith more fully.
I believe they will. Father Judge's story is a powerful testament to the transformative power of faith in action, a reminder that each of us has the potential to be a beacon of hope in our own communities.
And that's a beautiful message to carry with us as we navigate the complexities of our own lives.
It is.
And our own journeys of faith.
It is. And it's a message that I hope will continue to resonate with our listeners long after this deep dive has ended.
So as we conclude our exploration of Father Judge's life, we invite you, our listener, to reflect on what you've heard and to consider how you might apply his example to your own life. How can you be a force for good in the world?
Yeah.
How can you live your faith more authentically? How can you make a difference in the lives of those around you?
These are questions worth pondering, and I believe Father Judge's life really offers us a roadmap, a guiding light to illuminate our own paths.
Until next time, keep diving deep.